Hello guys, you're welcome to Immigrate with Ammy. Today we want to talk about Canada CV template and format. We've been receiving a lot of emails, a lot of requests from people who are looking to immigrate to Canada, or maybe they are trying to apply for jobs in Canada and they just want to understand how a Canadian CV should look like, or if they are going to apply for a job with a Canadian employer, what should the CV design or what should the outlook of the CV look like, how should it be arranged, what should be in the CV, questions like that. So this video is mainly an answer to those requests. Okay, so we'll be talking about everything Canada CV. I will start by showing you guys the basic structure of a Canadian CV, and then I will actually take you through some tips on how to write a Canadian CV, and then after that I will show you two CVs, and then we'll just look at those two CVs and pick some lessons from it. Why is this important? On the average, an employer will spend maybe 30 seconds browsing through your CV, and in those 30 seconds he or she needs to take a decision if to go ahead with your profile or not. Whatever it is that you are going to put in that CV, you should be sure that anyone that picks it up and browse through it finds that CV interesting and finds it a good match for that particular job offer. The goal of this video is actually to support you or to help you in having your CV in a way that is very attractive to Canadian employers. Okay, so that's the goal. And by the way, we, as part of our one-on-one consultation, if you need us to review your CV and then maybe help you to edit it, help you to add some useful keyword, which is very important, then you can reach out to us through the link in the video description. You can reach out to Immigrate with Ammy, and then we can, talk about this in detail. Let's start by looking at the format of a Canadian CV. What are the things that the Canadian CV must contain and in what order? Okay, the first thing is that the CV must start with your contact information. That is very, very important. Now, there are certain CV templates that the biodata or the contact information, comes somewhere along the line. For a Canadian CV, it has to be the first thing that the CV reviewer or the employer sees when they pick up your CV. The next thing is that it should have like a professional or career summary. So this is more or less like a sentence or two to summarize your entire professional journey. This is one of the most important sections of your CV, because when an employer reads that summary, it might likely determine if they will continue to look at your CV or not. So the way you summarize your professional journey, the types of words that you use, the keywords that you include will actually determine if an employer will keep on checking your CV or not. The professional or the career summary comes second. The next item on the list is your work experience. Okay, and I'm going to be showing you guys a typical Canadian CV, and you can look at it. One thing I noticed about Canadian CVs is that they are not really after the design or how bogus it looks. They are mostly simple CVs, but well arranged, concise in the information, summary, and straight to the point. Your work experience, then followed by your educational or professional development. That is also the next thing that should come after your work experience. And then most CVs actually end at this educational or professional development stage. Okay, now if it is appropriate, you may also add some technical skills and volunteer experience or community involvement if you have them, and if they are relevant in boosting your profile, you might add them to your CV, but it's not important that you add them. So if it won't make much of a difference, if it doesn't reflect on your character, if it doesn't have a way of boosting your profile, then it's not important that you add them to your CV. Let's take a look at some CV writing tips. What are the information that you need to be aware of when you are actually drafting your Canadian CV? The first thing, which is very important, is avoid sending a generic resume to dozens of employers. And I know that a lot of job seekers do this. They are usually under pressure. They are trying to apply for as many jobs as possible in order to more or less broaden their opportunities. But the thing is that when you're applying for jobs, you need to be very intentional. For each job that you're applying for, right, there are certain requirement for each of those jobs. There are certain things that the employer is looking forward to seeing in your CV. There is an ideal candidate in the mind of every employer when they post a job vacancy. One of the ways to actually shoot yourself in the foot when you're applying for a job or when you're applying for jobs is to send like a generic resume. Send the same resume for different types of jobs. It's always good, even if you have like a master template, it's always good to tweak some of the words, to rearrange some things just to fit into the requirement of each of the jobs before you apply for a job. So your time is better spent being selective and tailoring your resume for each specific job and company you are applying to. Okay, so this is very, very important, guys. Okay, now the second tip is concentrate on presenting the reader with your highlights. They are not really interested in too much details. If your resume is good enough, if your profile is good enough, you would have your chance at the interview stage to actually give them details. But for the sake of your CV, make sure you only include the important highlights. You don't need to present details so that your CV doesn't begin to look too clumsy or too much information contained in the CV. Make sure you keep your resume interesting. I said it in the beginning of the video. Typically, hiring managers will only spend 10 to 30 seconds browsing through your document, and those 10 to 30 seconds is what actually determines if they're going to give you a chance or not. So as much as possible, keep your resume very interesting. Make sure you use highlight, make sure you use some keywords which will actually bring out the value of your profile. The next thing is make sure you avoid long paragraphs and small fonts. Some job seekers, they want to put in all of the information. So in order for them to add a lot of words and then not to have too many pages of CVs, they reduce the font size. Okay, that is not a good strategy for a Canadian CV. Okay, when the font size is 10 or less than 10, it's really not a good idea, guys. Okay, so make sure you avoid long paragraphs and make sure you avoid small fonts. Okay, still talking about CV writing tips, and in this case we are talking about Canadian CV. When you are talking about your highlight, like the highlight of your professional career, avoid using the first person in your statement. For example, I am a technical professional, or I worked at this, or I did this. Instead, use very short sentences that goes straight to the point. For example, increased sales by 10%, generated sales of this amount. I'm just using this as example. Avoid as much as possible by including the first person, like I am, I worked, I did, okay, I achieved. Use very short sentences and straight to the point. Also, when it comes to how many pages your CVs should have, a one-page CV is actually the very best, because just at the glance of one page, the employer can already capture all of your information. When you're having CVs of 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, it gets boring and they really don't have time to go through all of those pages. Okay, so as much as possible, if you can have a one-page CV, it's the best. If it's not possible for you to have all your information in one page, make sure that it's not more than 2 pages, okay? Especially if you have a lot of extensive career development. Now, when it comes to career development, the next point is also relevant. Only include the experience that is relevant for the role to which you are applying. So you might have some work experience in the past that is not relevant for the particular role you are applying to. There's no point listing those in your CV because it doesn't actually improve your chances. In fact, most times it can decrease your chance if they see you as someone that is not focused. So you are more or less a jack of all trades. You are here, you are there, you are not focused on your professional journey, okay? So whatever experience you have that is not relevant for the role, make sure you remove it. Also, make sure you do not list personal interest or hobbies. So some people like to add that in their CV. They talk about the fact that they love to play football, they love cooking. I mean, that doesn't really increase your chances of getting a job, and most of the time these are the information that is not relevant for employers. So as much as possible, do not list any personal interest unless they are achievements that add to your character. The next thing is that do not list references or include the line references available on request. Okay, most of us like to put that, even though we don't have any reference, we like to just put that. The average Canadian employer, when they see that, what they assume is that you have references and you want to present references. So instead of, putting yourself through that hardship, don't even include it. If that job application requires you to have references, they will request for it. And when they request for it, you can then provide them with the contact details and the information of your references. Okay. So I wanted to give you these tips. So now let's look at these two CVs and then apply all of the information that I've been speaking about. So let's start with this first CV. Now, it might not be that arranged because I had to convert it to a Google Doc. Okay, so it was actually in PDF, but I had to convert it to Google Doc. So that's why it's a little bit unarranged. Okay, but at least it captures the main essence of this discussion. So as you can see, this starts with the name of the person, the phone number, and the email. Simple. Now, another thing that you can add in this first section is, for example, if you have professional profile, so like a LinkedIn profile, you can put the link there. Okay, that is also good because most employers these days, they want to check you out on these, professional platforms. Okay, so a good idea would be to add your LinkedIn profile. If you don't have one, please create it. It's very, very important, okay, for job seekers. All right, now you can see that after the contact information, the next thing is the professional summary of this guy. And you can see from the professional summary, there is no too much notes here. It's straight to the point. He listed out the professional certifications that he has. As you can see, Oracle this, Oracle database, blah blah blah, and then just one simple statement to capture all of his professional journey. 10 years of software development experience in analysis, design, development, data modeling, performance tuning, and implementation of business applications using Oracle database management system. Simple. This actually captures, and then any employers that look at this professional summary can immediately decide, is this a good profile for this job or not? And then if they feel it's a good profile, then they want to read further. Okay, so it's important you keep this professional summary straight to the point, okay, and very short. Now, after that, he added his areas of expertise in bullet points. So no sentences, no notes, straight to the point. Okay, so Oracle SQL, MVC foundations, unit tests. So this is actually important for this kind of job, especially for people who are applying for technical roles. The employer also want to see, for example, the areas of your expertise, your technical skills. Okay, so it's always good to also include it in your CV. You would see that after that, he lists out his career experience, and you can see that the career experience is very, very straight to the point as well. So you can see the role, the timeline, the company, the location, and then the skills that he applied during that role. Then in terms of the description of his experience, he didn't list out his job function. That is not really necessary anymore. In these days, nobody wants, they already know what a programmer does, for example. Okay, but what he has added is the impact that he made in that role. And you can see it here, successfully upgraded. As you can see here, there is no first person notes here. Nothing like I did, I am. It's straight to the point. Successfully upgraded, develop complex, blah, 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 and so on. So straight to the point. The second role as well follows that same logic. Okay, so straight to the point with the impact, and that's it. And then finally, he listed out his education. Simple. And that is the end of the CV. You would see that this CV is just a one page, which is straight to the point. Any employer that looks at this can immediately decide if they want to hire this guy or not, because all of the important information that they would need to take a decision on this guy is represented here. This is how your CV should look like if you're applying for a job in Canada. The second one is actually for the same guy, but it's just arranged in a different way, okay, with just a little difference, okay, but it actually follows the same pattern. So the name, okay, the contact, the professional summary, the employment history. So in this case, he didn't list his technical skills here, okay, so the employment history as well, the education, and then after the education, he added his awards and achievement. Now, the reason why he's adding this award and achievement is because this is relevant to the role that he's applying for. Okay, so you would also see that this is another one pager that fully summarizes and defines his profile, and any employer that looks at this have a full or have sufficient information to decide if they want to hire this guy or not. This is how a Canadian CV looks like. You would see that there is no extensive design or using special font. It's straight to the point. It's very simple. Employers, would enjoy going through this because they can see exactly what they are looking for, and it helps them to quickly decide if he has the right profile or not. Okay, so guys, we are sharing this to you guys, okay, so that you can have an idea of how a Canadian CV looks like. Let me try to reduce the size so that you can see it even better. Okay, so you can see here, okay, it's a one pager. You can see the other one as well. It's also a one pager. Okay, you can actually have a one-page CV that contains all of the relevant information without having 2 or 3 pages that the employers would not even check. Okay, so guys, it's important, straight to the point, summarize, use the right keywords, highlight the skills that are important for that particular job, and that's it. And then follow this particular template: your name, your contact, the professional summary. If you have technical skills or other useful skills relevant to the job, list it out in bullet points, your career experience, and then make sure you add the impact that you made in those roles, and then your education. This is sufficient for any Canadian employer to decide if they want to go on in the process with you or not. Okay, so guys, I hope this is useful to you guys. We're all about supporting you guys, and we feel that, of course, there are a lot of immigration pathways that are actually tied to job offers. So I know that if you are planning to move to Canada, most likely you are planning to apply for a lot of jobs, or you are even already applying for those jobs. Okay, make sure you look at this CV and then try to adjust your CV to fit into this particular template. This is what employers are interested in. This is what they are looking forward to, and make sure you adapt your current CV to this particular template. Okay, guys, we wish you all the best. Okay, make sure you share your good news with us when you get that job or when that immigration approval arrives. Okay, we're always looking forward to celebrating with you, and we wish you guys a lovely day. Don't forget, if you need a one-on-one consultation, of course, you can always get in touch with us. Thank you guys, and have a lovely day.